ReefDudes is sponsored by Brightwell Aquatics and Bulk Reef Supply.
Today we're checking out the Neptune Trident. What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. So today we are checking out the Neptune Trident. Now I've been asked a bazillion times to check this one out and I got a wicked deal on it. So here we are, figured to seize the opportunity and we're gonna check it out. Now I have been running some different auto testers for a while now and I have been really curious to see how this compares. And one of the actual bigger things I'm curious about is to see how the Neptune Trident controlled dosing works. So I think I'm going to lower my dosing a little bit and let that do about 80% of it and see if this will just tweak things on top of it and see how kind of like dead stable we can get the elk and everything else. So that is one thing I am really curious about. Now I did get a deal on this one, so I guess, you know, semi-sponsored if you want to call it. Was not asked to make any content, but of course make content and everything. So here we go. Let's check this guy out. So inside the box, do not plug it in, go through the instructions. Open Fusion app, select task icon, select initial Trident setup. So there's your kind of quick start guide. Inside the box, we have our reagent. So this will be your roughly 2 months or so set, which includes 2 alkalinities, a calcium and a magnesium. We got our dosing tubes. The Trident itself. Now inside of here, it looks like we also got some calibration solution and a line sample filter. So the Trident itself, kind of take a quick peek at it. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this one already. The tray slides out the front and that's where you load your reagents into side. So that part's pretty simple. We'll go through the app and do the actual setup. Connect our tubing in the back. So our black is going to be our sample line. And you kind of think it's black because it's shielded from light, keeps any algae or any stuff getting to the line. And our white one is going to be our waste. So your wastewater is going to be the little bit of water that comes out of each sample test. Now from my understanding, it's roughly about 2 liters a jug should last you by the time you swap out your reagents. So it kind of gives you a bit of an idea. And for powering it, we have the one link. So that is the 4-pin cable that plugs into the EV832. As for the distance of the hoses, looks like they are roughly 6 feet or so. So it gives you an idea about roughly how far you can have it from the tank. Now if we pull open the tray, you'll see inside we have a purple, a green, and a red, and that will match up with the colors of the bottle, so it makes it really easy to figure out which one is which. So we got green, blue, and red. Let's plug it in yet. Wants us to do the startup procedure through the app, so let's open, and we're going to click on the tasks icon, which is a little clipboard. And if we scroll down, there is one for Trident initialization. Trident initial setup. So we're going to run this one. Do not connect the Trident to the apex at that time. Check. Review the contents of our package.
On your purchase of the Neptune
Reagent. Keep the caps. Position Trident. Install waistline. Install sample line. Check.
Let's begin by going over what's in the box.
All right, so keep your box. So you got to send it away for service at some point. You want to make sure you have it. Connect the sample line. So in here, connect the black to the black. Connect your waistline, so that will be the clear line. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit. This is actually a really easy process because it literally has a video for every single step of the process. So we did that, got the one link port connected. Now if you didn't have the one link port, you could use the USB, the Aquabus, and a power supply. So we'll get this guy installed.
Carefully slide open the Trident reagent drawer and place the reagent. Now find the reagent B and give the bottle a good shake. Remove the cap.
So we finished going through the instructions. It's actually pretty quick and easy to walk you through it. We take a look inside. The green one on the back for calcium. This one comes to the left-hand side of the machine. The other 2 come on the right. So when you slide it in, just want to make sure nothing gets pinched and slides it nicely inside. Our register, and the only thing left is to physically install it. So a couple kind of key considerations. It wants you to have it within 2 or 3 feet of the tank. That's one of the biggest things, is finding the right spot, and it has to be somewhere level. So we'll see where we can fit it. For the waistline, I want to connect it to 1/4 inch RODI fittings. What I'm going to do is use one of these Y fittings, and I'm going to adapt this to fit the 1/4 inch. So I took this little fitting that came with the Versa, so it's just a little barb adapter. I drilled it out so that the hose just fits inside. So that works. Now what I'm going to do is put in some super glue and just to seal it off, and it will make a nice little RDI connector. If I leave it just flat, basically perfectly fits. So if I pull it and stretch it, it makes a bit of a groove. So I might use this to my advantage in order to get the super glue inside. So I got the top sealed. We'll do a similar thing around the bottom. Okay, now it's already starting to dry. Looks like a pretty good seal, and I think at the end, if I take a razor blade and I'll flush cut that, I think this will work very well. A couple shots of accelerator, and it pretty much seals it up. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry for a bit, and I'm gonna flush cut that, and I think we will have a pretty solid waistline. All right, so we got the waistline installed. I use a little Y to split it, so both of my auto, oh, there you go. You can see the Trident doing its first test, going down the waistline. And the other line to the right is from the Mastertronic, so I got both auto testers now, have that little line that goes right down to the drain. So I've got no containers to empty, which is so. As for the sample line, we got this little tiny black line, and come all the way down, have that little filter on it, and kind of see it's just below this probe holder. So it is a couple inches off of the base of the sump, and it's a high flow area by the pump, so there should be no micro bubbles. There should be no dust or detritus or anything that gets sucked into it. So I think that's going to be very well for its position. And if we come into the stand behind the controller board, I somehow managed to fit it in here. So now I have 3 testers all inside of here. I don't even know how they fit. I don't know how I fit all this into my stand, but all this is behind the controller board. It's like a TARDIS in here. It's bigger on the inside. So super stoked that I somehow made this fit. The shape of the Trident, how it dips down, actually conveniently left space for the hoses for the other one over there, for the Alcatronic. So super cool. So now it is doing its initial setup, initial testing. It did come with calibration solution, but it does want you to wait 48 to 72 hours before you run it. So I'm just letting it initialize, do its thing, and then a couple days I'll come back and check it and kind of see where it's at. All right guys, it's now the next day. I let it run overnight, so it's done 2 tests so far. If we look at the graph, it started a bit lower, and it's starting to work its way up. Now, if I look at my Alcatronic, it's 8.68. Right now on the Trident, it's 8.18, so it's about 0.5 DKH difference. Now, I have not calibrated it yet, so that's a key factor here. So it does come with calibration solution, but it also does say to kind of wait 48, 72 hours before you actually run it. Let everything kind of get broken in and get used to your tank and your tank runs and length of the lines and everything else. But I mean, overall it's pretty cool to have it on the dashboard right away. I will say it was a very easy setup. Super duper easy. Like it literally walked you through every step. You connected a waistline, a water line, and power basically, like super easy setup. So I do give them huge props for that on how easy the setup was. Now, aside from that, it does want you to have it level on your stand, obviously. So I did put a couple little feet under the one side of it just to kind of level it out because it's sitting on top of the Mastertronic. But yeah, overall, super quick and easy to install. I was very impressed by that. Very, very easy. Even if you're not technical, there's videos, absolutely walks you through everything. App integration is pretty awesome. Now, I'm going to probably wait 2 or 3 days before I run the calibration solution through it. I'm just going to let it kind of run and get in its groove first, and then I'll calibrate it after that. And then once it is calibrated, my next step is I'm going to hook the dose back up, and I'll probably set up a container with elk in it, and I want to lower my overall dosing just a little bit, and I'm going to let the dose, you know, probably 4 or 5 mils a day. We'll see what it is, but I'm going to try letting it tweak my dosing on top of that. So, you know, the calcium reactor, the calc is going to do the bulk of it, and I'm going to try and let this fine tune it and see if I can get like dead stable elk. Now the other thing is too, like right now between the 2 different testers, you know, I'm half a DKH difference, and once I calibrate it, I'm sure I'll be even closer. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if, you know, one's reading a little higher or a little lower. What matters is that it's consistent, right? Like we care more about the trending of the data. Is it consistent? Is it going up or is it going down? Like that's where the real value is. I know a lot of people obsess over the specific number. You know, I see posts constantly. They're like, oh, this test kit is this and this kit is that. You know, which one do I trust? You know, average them out. It doesn't really matter. If your testing is consistent, What you care about is the trending, right? Your tank can be happy at 7 DKH, can be happy at 9 DKH. It doesn't matter as long as you keep things stable. So that's kind of one of the key things here. So a lot of the value with the automated testers is it's a robot doing the testing for you. It's going to be doing the exact same testing method every single time, the exact same, water volumes, and it's going to be very consistent. And that is really one of the keys here. All right, guys, so hopefully you enjoyed this first look of the Neptune Trident. Yeah, so far, I just want to say super easy setup, super duper easy. That's kind of like the biggest thing that stands out in my mind so far. Apex integration is pretty cool. It does show you, how much is left in each bottle. You can see how many tests are remaining, and you can kind of see what your levels are at a glance for all your main parameters. So yeah, pretty cool. So I am excited to play with this a little more, and probably a week or two I'll do a follow-up video once I get the dose and it's all calibrated and I get the Trident controlled dosing going, because that's really what I want to find out here. All right, guys, as always, if you enjoyed this, hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next update.